Session 3 and 4 taught by Dr. Reams in Black in 1977. This is tape 28 side A.
Friday, 2:30 p.m. Dr. Reams' Biological Theory of Ionization, July the 1st, 1977, Session 3 and 4. Held at the Murrieta Hot Springs Resort, Murrieta, California. Dr. Rudd speaks, Sandy Bedeau speaks on nutrition and other facts, 28-6/27-7/1-77.
And I have had the privilege of meeting Dr. Rudd. But he is standing here to my left, and he is the man that is in charge of the finance and putting this thing together. And he's done a fabulous job. The more criticisms you hear about anybody, the more they're doing for God. So if you hear something bad, well, you know who's the author of it. But I haven't. I've been living with Dr. Rudd now over a year, and I haven't found anything bad about him. In fact, all I've found is good, and he's doing a fabulous job, and he has done more to promote this program than any other one man. And he has a few announcements to make to you. He's going to answer some of your questions, but not all of them, because there's new ones cropping up every minute. Dr. Rudd.
Thank you, Dr. Reams. It is indeed a real pleasure to get to be here to look out and see your smiling faces. I hope they'll be smiling when I'm through. But it's a joy to see the progress that's being made here in the school this week. Whether you think it or not, I am conscious of a lot of your problems that you're facing. I was going to, if somebody hand me you want to get up where you can hit me, huh? I was going to hide down there. But without trying to spend all the time in explanations, because I could be here several hours, and then I wouldn't be through telling you all the things that happened in the year's time since I become acquainted with the Reams program and working with it. But I want to tell you a little bit of history about myself first, how I got interested in the healing arts. In 1961, my wife was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. She was taking something like 6 to 7 Dexamol tablets a day, and when she didn't, she was like a bear. I couldn't live with her and couldn't live without her. I'd fuss with her inside the house, fuss with her outside the house. Now, somebody's going to say, well, my wife's that way all the time. Well, maybe you better listen to some of the solutions happened anyway, but knowing very little about nutrition and the cause and effect upon the human frame, of course, I was like everybody else at that time, run to the doctor to get a pill for this and a pill for that, and that was about it. But I had quite a controversy with our family doctor over it one day, and I said, you know, what's wrong with my wife? And he said, well, there's nothing wrong with her, it's just in her head. And so we got pretty hot with our language, and finally when he saw I wasn't going to take no for an answer, he finally said, well, I'll just tell you, Doc, I don't really know what's wrong with your wife. I said, now we're getting somewhere. If you just said that to begin with, instead of saying something that wasn't wrong with her, I said, I didn't think you did know what was wrong. If you knew what was wrong with her, maybe you could figure out what to do for what was wrong with her, some answer for it. Well, anyway, we got desperate then, and we started praying for some kind of an answer to help the situation. About simultaneously with this, a friend of mine, another doctor, but was not our family doctor, came over one night and said, I know I could get in trouble ethically by prescribing something for you when you're not my patient. But he said, on that strength of friendship and the fact that there's a need, I've got something I want you to try. So he brought out this yellow-looking box and said, now this is not a medicine. This is a food supplement. At that time, I don't think I'd ever heard of one before. And I began to have the bristles on the back of my head sort of raise up, and but I couldn't see any sense of anything to do with food, to do anything to helping my wife. So, make a long story short, finally he could see he wasn't getting anywhere either, so he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I know I'm not getting anywhere. He said, I want you to try this, Golda. If it helps you, you pay me. If you don't, forget it. Well, after they left, I still felt a little uneasy. I felt like, well, I'd been pressured into something, but I said, well, if he hasn't got any better sense to offer it to us for free if it doesn't good, I'm just not going to have any better sense. I'm not going to pay it unless it does some good. So I said, we don't generally get that kind of recommendation most of the time, so we tried it. Well, in a couple of weeks, I could see the change in my wife. In 3 weeks, the whole church could see the difference. And I know now what I didn't know then, that lacking calcium had affected her nervous system, and getting the natural calcium back helped her out. Maybe some of the other vitamins and minerals also, but anyway, there was a major change. Well, it changed our life, because I then learned something I didn't know before, that diet does have a major effect on your life. From that time forward, I got interested. At that time, it was a casual interest. But particularly the last 10 years, I've been majorly interested and have spent a lot of money and a lot of time in researching in the healing arts field from every standpoint I know. One thing I felt was lacking. It seemed like that when Noah got ready to go out of the ark, that he sent the dove out, and it said that at the first trip the dove couldn't find any place for the sole of her foot, so she came back. It seems like since then there's just been about that much effort without finding a place for the natural healing arts to find a place for their sole of their foot. They're just like a bunch of unwanted children. The general world for the last years, up until a few years ago, has found more faults than they found good in it. But I thank God that's begun to change. But I kept thinking, someday, somehow, somewhere, my dream was to find a place big enough and the finances to provide a haven where the healing arts could come and research, to take their programs, and when they were found to be some merit, make them known to the world. Now, about a year ago, of course, I met Dr. Reams, and I got to talking with him. But as in most cases, there were problems there, just like there is in any embryo growing industry. And so I saw right off the bat, I was just going to get casually interested in some of the computer work and maybe some of the programming, which I have some expertise in that field, in the realm of marketing. Very shortly, I found it was going to take a story. It sort of reminds me about the chicken and the pig was planning on helping out in this church bazaar. Well, they wanted the chicken to donate some eggs, and they wanted the pig to donate some ham, and so they were deciding which one would do it. And so the pig said, well, it's not very easy. You're just giving an offering. It's going to take a total commitment for me. Well, that's just about the way I decided. It come from an offering to a total commitment to do the job that I felt ought to be done. It was to take a total commitment. So when I got to that point, I just about decided that it was too big a job at that time. Not that I wasn't interested, but we already had a job in Nigeria for 30 million acres of organic farming, which was a pretty good-sized project. And we were supposed to leave in January of this year to go there. So when I talked to Dr. Reams and said, Doc, I've heard some of your friends been telling me, well, we're just another one on the beach. We got plenty of people to come in and do what you're going to do. So if you don't do it, we'll get somebody else. And Doc sat there in that hotel room that day, and his tears streamed down his face. He said, Doc, there isn't any other offer. There isn't any other commitment. Oh, he said, there's some talk. But he says, I've been with you long enough that I feel we need you more than you need us. And with what I know you know, and what you can do, and the financing, we need you. Well, what could I say? If I have any kind of a heart, if I had any kind of a man, if I was any kind of a businessman, and was approached on that basis, I would have to give some consent to help. But after I said, he said, now then, Doc, I'm going to show you that it isn't all one-sided. He says, what I know about the organic farming, because I didn't know at that time then that Doc was had many more years expertise in the field of the farming than he had in this program, which he had also discovered. And he told me what he could do. He said, I'll make you a proposition. If you'll spend 1 year helping me get this program moving and organizing and the way it should be, he says, I can save you 3 years of time in Africa, and you'll still be 2 years ahead of your project by helping me. I said, well, that's a pretty good deal. So we shook hands. Little did either one of us realize that day when we shook hands what it was going to involve. I know that unless most of you out there, you really don't know. But it has involved total commitment on the part of ourselves and many other people. As I look back over the year, I can't answer all the things that's happened, and I can't explain them all. But I'm going to try to bring you from that time to this a few of the things that's happened and where we are now and where we're going. One of the worst things that I know of has been poor communication. Every time I've tried to get some communication out, by the time it got to most of you, it was so turned around that it didn't even look like the same story at all. Number one, first of all, I did not have the authority to communicate with you because I did not own IAL. I had no contractual control whatsoever. And so what I had to get out was piecemeal pleading and hoping somebody in authority would say something. And whatever reason, other than I only know of one letter that went out that had any degree of showing unity, and that was sometime this year. Other than that, most of the letters went out had either the wrong communication or not enough communication, or it was bad communication. And so I'm sad to say you have been in the dark most of the time of what's been going on. You have no idea, many of you, unless you've been closer to the Home Office and others, of the things we've been confronted with. But now then, after all of that, we've had to go through so many things that I won't take the time to tell you but this. But let me try to bring you up where we are. First of all, I want to say this, that had it not been for myself and the contacts that I had with the powers that be, this whole thing would have been wiped out as of the 1st of January of this last year. The regulatory agency had already done their research, and they were already ready to move, and this, whether you want to believe it or not, I'm telling you as I know it. But in order to get time to straighten this thing out, I went in and used some influence that I had, along with some other people using their influence, and we sort of got a stay of execution. Because as I said, the way that the program was being operated in the field, in most cases, they were breaking the law every time they did a test and did a recommendation, unless they were fortunate enough to have a license to do what they were doing. Most of the time, the testers did not have those licenses. And I'm sad to say that there are some people, even some of you here today, have already either been indicted or you've already been cited, and an indictment will follow for practicing medicine without a license or various other charges. Now, we have tried to put together an economic program, a marketing program, and a practical program that would work to try to alleviate that problem, and that's one of the biggest things that we had to face. Because I'm telling you, all the rest is immaterial if you don't answer that. If you don't answer a way that you can do your job in the field and do it within the law, then it's a matter of time how long that you're going to last, at least from a legal standpoint and a practical standpoint and a civic standpoint or federal standpoint. Now, some of you have heard the pros and cons on it. I'm not going to get into today. We're going to make an announcement. I hope I don't get it here. I'll maybe make it now. One thing is going to be beneficial. We're setting the plans now for a special seminar, which will be free, but will probably be worth more to you than any seminar you have ever attended since you have become a Reams analyst or tester. And what the purpose of that seminar is going to be, number one, we're going to have the finest attorneys in the land. The first part of that will be a legal approach to showing you what you can do and what you cannot do, either with our plan or without our plan, and show you the ramifications that you're facing as an individual citizen in the United States as far as operating your business. Now, we'll have men like Kurt Dilling there. Kurt Dilling, as you know, most of you know him by name, but if you don't, Kurt Dilling is considered one of the finest attorneys in reference to the regulatory agencies representing the people in the United States, more specifically FDA, Food and Drug Administration. And that is probably one of the most important agencies that you will have to deal with as you carry on your business from a federal standpoint. You will have similar problems with state and local and county agencies that will operate under similar banners as the Food and Drug. Now then, we'll have Kurt Dilling there. We'll have Mr. Rothblatt, which is, you probably know him by reputation, many of it, Flea Bailey. He is his assistant and actually probably written more books recently in the last few years from a trial standpoint than any other man in the country. He will be there. He's now Dr. Reams' personal lawyer as well as generally representing the group, the company and the project in that respect. Along with that also Mr. John Couture, which has been associated with me since we came into it, and he is a Harvard graduate and also from attorney practice in Wisconsin, and has spent, along with me, been a part of much of the research that has been done in the program that we're going to initiate. Now there will be some others, but one of the most important part of that seminar will be that legal meeting. And I would recommend you now put that down in your book and make it indelible. Do not miss that seminar if it's any way possible, and tell every tester you know, if you're a friend to them, tell them to be at that meeting. Now that's the legal standpoint. You will need to know that. We can't set the date yet because we're going to base that on the delivery operational of the computer, which we hope that will be within 40 days from 2 weeks ago, that the contracts have been finally signed for the software to be completed, and the terminals for your use have finally been researched. We got those now. So from that date. Now, we're going to try to have this seminar probably 5 to 10 days before that, but you will be announced by communication on phone or in writing some way. You will be told when that date is. I do not know right now when it will be. It has something to do with some other things we want to get done here on the premises that we want to have done at the same time, which I will talk a little about that later. Now, no, it will be here at Murrieta. The only cost it will cost you as far as that, other than your transportation here, will be your lodging and meals. The seminar itself will be free. We will not charge you for it. Yes, ma'am. Which one are you talking about?
24.
Of what? No, this will be before that. We're going to try to have this, if possible, sometime toward the latter part of July. We're going to have it as quick as we can, but there's some things that we want to get done that will be to your advantage. I'll talk about the rest of the things here. Now, the next section of the seminar will be completely discussing the new marketing plan. The next thing will be discussing the new school program. The next thing will be discussing the new retreat program. The next thing will be discussed in great detail is the final operation of the computer program and how it's going to benefit you. And at that time, we will have, while we're holding, to have both the mainframe in operation and the terminal so you can actually see the way it works. Yes, ma'am? Well, I don't know whether we can put it all on tape or not, but I imagine that a resume or a summary of it, because it's going to be about a 3-day seminar, and whether we can get it all taped, we might. I'm not saying that, but we'll have portions of it taped anyway, and probably a resume of it. So on and so forth. Possibly so. But I'd say, since the biggest reason, at each end of each session, you get your questions ready, because you're going to have a chance to get the best legal advice you'll ever get in the world free by being there with your questions of what we don't cover in the seminar session. You'll be able to ask them. So this is very important to you. This seminar will be worth more to you if you intend to stay in this business and work in it than anything you've ever attended up to now, as far as operational and legal and economical and then practical and all the other things. Now, the other things will be in the seminar. First of all, by why we're wanting it here, you're going to see one of the most world's up-to-date, complete operational program for equipment and machinery and all the things go that you'll be able to be on a tour through here and see that will be actually on the grounds at that time. There are a few machines that are under operational construction now that will not be read in, but literature will be there, and we'll show you where it's going to be, and the experts will tell you what that machine is going to do. So you will see things that we cannot put on tape. So that's important why you should be here. The tape will help you, and the resume will tell you, but you will, if there's any way in the world you can possibly attend this seminar, you ought to be sure to put it on the list. Now, then the economics will be discussed at that time. And many, many other things. I won't go in now, that things that you've had questions about for some time that I know you'll want to hear the answers for will be answered there. Now, another reason for this meeting, why it's been held, is there has been a lot of unrest. I'm sure, I don't need to tell you, in the field about questions of authority. Who said this? Who has the right to do that? Who has the right to do something else? Also, you will probably have the best announcement since you've been in this business of the new control system that will be initiated for an overall operation for the total program. Now, I want to talk to you a little about Murrieta. Some of you, I know you've been here now, and you probably got a lot of questions. What in the world are we doing on this big giant of a place here? But we feel that this has come to be, and will continue to be, a crystallization of one of the greatest examples of coordination of the healing arts in the history of the world. First of all, it is a big place. I want to talk to you a little about it. By the way, so you'll get the point, and I'll repeat it. We now own the place. We're not here on a maybe so, as you've heard rumors around. We own it. We have bought it. So it's been that way for 4 months. But people have been saying, well, we're going to get thrown out in 30 days, 6 days. We're not only here. About 6 weeks ago, there were so many rumors out in the field, we had to have the former owner come here and make a formal presentation to announce that we do own it, that we've made all of our payments that's necessary, and we've done all of our performances, and we are in full control of the operation here at this time at Murrieta. Yes, ma'am? Well, I believe it's called Murrieta Hot Springs Corporation. It was a corporation that owned it. Does that answer that? Murrieta Hot Springs Incorporated was a corporation that owned them. They sold out to us. Now, there's a lot of individuals involved. Is that what you mean, or you want to know the corporation? Well, you can be as specific if you want. If I can answer it, I will. If I can't, I'll say I can't answer it. So, but that was Murrieta Hot Springs Incorporated, was the corporation that owned this whole operation here before we bought it. We bought it from them. Yes, ma'am. How many have ever borrowed money before? Okay, then you'll understand. She said something about the Teamster Union. Didn't they have a loan on this? So I asked the question, you ever borrowed money for? All right, there is such sources of money in this country, such as banks, savings and loans, Teamster Union funds. You know what a Teamster Union fund is? It's a pension fund that's been paid in over years, of which any kind of trust fund has rights to loan out money under certain conditions. Billions of dollars every year has been loaned out from the various pension funds over the nation to people who have real estate projects. It just so happens at this one that about 5 different pension funds, the Teamsters was one of them, loaned money over a period of 5 years here and took first mortgages back against the property for loans on the money. That did not give them any more control over the project than any bank has control over the project because they loan money or anybody else. They just loan the money. They never run this place. They never operated this place. They never had any say-so over this place other than the fact that when their payments wasn't made, they got mad. But I'm just saying that because there's all sort of little innuendos about the Teamsters running this and the Teamsters running that, and if it isn't this, what about the Culinary Union and some other union that had a pension fund? The unions themselves had no say-so. This was pension funds that money went into pension funds, and those trustees loaned the money out just like they loaned other places. Yes, they did, and they had the first mortgage on this place, of which Murrieta Hot Springs Incorporated borrowed millions and millions of dollars over the period of 5 years to build this. There's been altogether approximately $200 million spent here on the total project over a period of 5 years or so, maybe further. By the way, the original Murrieta Hot Springs is old. These springs were discovered back sometime in 1800 and something, and these 3 old buildings you see over here, the 1, 2 across the street, and then the one on the side, not the middle one here, it's called the card room. They're probably in excess of 50 years old. Those are the old buildings. All the rest of the buildings have been built here, including what you're in, have been built less than 5 years. So they're relatively new buildings. But now to give you an idea of the size, here is a map of the property that we bought. This represents some 2,000 plus acres, probably 2,200 acres altogether. We have another 540 acres that's not on this that we got also, but in the main project here called Murrieta Hot Springs proper, this is the property. Now, what most of you know is this little bit right in here. This is called, this little part right here is called the core. Now, in the core is like your dining room section, which is 2 floors, has 5 dining rooms and 5 kitchens, capable for multiple service type people, just like we're doing here. Which was, if we'd have went out and took the money and bought and hired, we could not have hired them to build us a better place to suit the purpose of which we're going to use this whole complex for eventually. Now, and so not only as we have the dining room and facilities that you're sitting in, but we have also 7 motels or hotels, a total of 350 rooms, of which most of you are staying in. That's where you're staying. Some of them have the kitchen in them, some of them do not have in them. But they were luxury type, resort type rooms. We're renting for around $100 a day when they were doing. So you know when you picked up your bill, it's not $100 a day. We are really giving you a real bargain. If you don't believe it, go around some of these other places and see what you'd have to pay for rooms. But we tried to put the price down as low as we possibly could to make it reasonable for you to stay here. Now, in addition to the 7 hotels that we have a number of villas up here. These villas are like condominiums. They're generally 4 in a cluster. There's 40, some of them altogether. We own 20, and we're buying some of the others back. There's a little section right on the corner here where we call the townhouses, which is across the road over there. Some of those we own, and some of them we don't. Some of them have been sold out. Now, in this tract, which is just above here, is called the mobile home project. Some of those have been sold out. Some of them haven't. We own some of the lots, and we don't. But that's something like over 1,000 people, at least a minimum, that live up there. And then there's some few hundred that live down here in the town. Now, that is the town of Murrieta Hot Springs, except for the staff that live on here on the property. Now, in addition to the core here, with some little stores you see across the front up here, which we've converted into the medical department. I think our main store is still there for the gift shop and so forth. We're using that temporarily for the medical department, which will do the screening and handle any major problems in reference to the retreat program, which will be initiated over here. Now, what we're doing, refurbishing these buildings. These buildings, when they're done, will be able to hold around minimum on the low side 500 to a maximum of 750 people. We expect to have a retreat second to none in the nation, which will probably be the model that we're going to use as we build across the country in other areas. Won't be as big as this one, but it'll be like it, only be smaller, but similar to it. That we will be able to take care of, as I said, from 500 to 750, depending on the, sometimes when I say that, if a person comes as an individual, or sometimes they'll bring their maid along or a friend along to help take care of them, well, depending on how many actual clients that we would have there. But I will say this. that we will probably have within 6 months, Dr. Reams, Dr. Black, and all this field, within 6 months, we will have the retreat full and have a turnover of some 400 to 500 people every 2 weeks in the retreat program here. So you guys are going to have to get to work out there getting these people in here for us, so we want you to help us out. Now then, in addition to that, it's our plans to have a permanent location here for the school program. Now, the school has lagged for almost a year. It has not had its best potential. It has not its best training program for a number of reasons, which I would rather not go into at this time. But I'm telling you what we're working toward. Eventually having a much better training program, a much coordinated program, and much more concentrated program for you to take advantage of the total potential of the Reams program. But starting from the first step from an analyst, theoretically, when we get the new program initiated, everything you've learned and everything you did, we're going to make it retroactive if you stay with the new program, so you will eventually have university credit and finally end up, if you stay all the way through, a 4-year graduate course approved by a reputable university. This will then put more dignity, more sophistication to the program and give more dignity to it where that you will be doing it in a more professional way. There are many things about that I won't try to go in. Some of it you heard when you attended the seminars across the country. Some of it you will hear at the new seminar. But if you attend the new seminar, you will get the final lowdown on how that's to be done. In addition to the fact that we want to make this a home for the international school program for the Reams system, will also be the agriculture program. Now, we haven't pushed that too hard because Dr. Reams and the staff have just been pushed to death trying to get the other one organized. But, how's that? Sorry, I had the paper in front of it. Thank you. But in addition to what you see here, we are in the process of purchasing farms. One particular farm some of you saw here a few months ago, that we're still in the process of getting that one. As soon as we can get that one cleared. It's a 2,200-acre farm with already 300 acres of vineyards on it, and then Dr. Reams will direct the rest of it on a truck farming program to be in coordination with the ag program, so we not only can give the training here, but have actual on-the-job participation for the students to work right into the farm program. And you'll do two things. First of all, we'll have training here that way, but the second, that farm program will produce enough food for all the Reams people and all the Reams retreats to have good fresh vegetables, not only in the state of California, but probably in several states surrounding. As far as we can carry food in one day is about as long as we want to carry fresh vegetables. So that will provide fruits and vegetables and so on for us to eat, at the same time a training program to carry the ag program, and this will be the nucleus here that will train the people to finally go to Nigeria and other countries that are already interested in us carrying this program forward. Now then, one of the other things that we want to say about the real goal of Murrieta. Murrieta's purpose is not to stop at just developing to its fullest extent what we call the Reams program. But this is eventually to be a haven where that the other healing arts in the United States and other parts of the world where we can research and find will bring those heads of department here. When we've researched it under our research council and find it's a good project or it has some merit, they will have a haven to come here to complete research, develop that therapy, so that theoretically, if you can use your imagination a little bit now, when any one doctor of any healing art examines a patient, he can only use the best of his expertise to diagnose and prescribe what he thinks is best for that patient. And thank God we got those kind of people today. But the time is going to come here at Murrieta when a minimum of 15 experts representing these different healing arts will all look at that patient and then be able to diagnose and give a therapy to cover any major problem or minor problem, and many of them we can't solve today, we don't know how, or how to do it very quickly, and have the quickest, speediest answer what to be done. That is going to not only be a benefit indirect to help you in the field to do a better job of helping the people you know to reach the desired health that they're seeking. That concept, if it grows on you, as far as we know, it's never been done that way before, but as a result of that concept, it's already bringing other world people in of expertise in. Just recently, one of our new staffmen has been added, is Dr. Bloodworth. Those of you in the chiropractic field know what his name means because he's considered, when we look at it, we think he's the best, but he says as long as Dr. DeJarnett's the world and is still living, he's 80-something years old, he'll consider it second. I really think he's first. But even first or second anyway is great. He has come here and has agreed to subordinate his total program to that concept I just mentioned and head up our chiropractic department He's already here. I had a wonderful talk with him again today. It just thrills me to see that kind of people being attracted to this location. There's already others. I won't go in now because I've got to run by, but just giving that as an example of what's going to come eventually at this place. Now, with all of this properties, you see mainly the core here. By the way, that included the 14 tennis courts. Now, outside of this core here, what you see, outside of this core is an addition on the corner here, 80 condos. You may have seen them up on the hill there. Those are going to be eventually included into the program where that we can add to our staff and have places for them to stay as well as for increasing our retreat program. We also have, outside of the core, a full 14-hole golf course, or excuse me, 18. Thank you. I'm missing a few holes there, you know. I tried to walk around that thing. I leave a few off. A full 18 championship golf course, one of the best in the country. We have that added also for exercise. Now, in addition, you've heard about the spa. This spa that we have here, of course, originally part of it was with the old program before they rebuilt it here 5 years ago. But they updated it, and it's one of the finest spa facilities in the country. That spa has been internationally known as in all the books, and its purpose was basically covering in this respect. You can handle 100 men and women at the same time in that spa. But it also not only has the exercise program, but it has the famous mineral baths and mud baths. You will hear more about those later. I won't take up time, but I'll just say this. They're world-renowned of beneficial things they can do. Now, they also had at that time nutrition, but it was not a major thing. The biggest thing this program has added is putting a major emphasis on the nutritional therapy and natural therapy to bring these people who ordinarily would just come to the spa for some help. Now they can come and take advantage of the spa with all these other facilities offered too. And that spa, for anybody saying, will be one of the facilities here to be used in coordination with the total program, as well as also still carry on its original purpose of just a spa for exercise, nutrition, and the mud baths and the mineral baths, and so forth. Now then, with what we have here in the core and the facility here, we have also the golf course. Now then, we also have the rest of this land. There's already a master plan that we're working on now in process to develop this property. It's not going to stop with these 2,000 plus acres, but in addition to this, we're going to add an industrial park, which is now being drawn and worked on the drawing board now, which its primary purpose will be to build products and supplements and instruments, whatever, for the development of the total healing arts that we're going to have developed here. It may have some other products too. So they will not only be designed and worked from the standpoint of the program, but be built right on our property so we're sure that we have quality control and economic prices to meet competition anywhere. Now, I may have forgotten a lot of things. Let me look over my notes here. The other thing I might want to say is the finance. So far, the finance to do what we've done has been into the millions of dollars to get us where we've done since last year when we started. It's just the beginning. But before this year's out, on our financial projections, already what's been done is great. It will be the largest expenditure that has ever been done in the history of the world toward the natural healing arts. This place alone, if you had to reproduce it, it would cost millions and millions of dollars on our market to do. We already have that. With the money and research that's already been done added, that's worth a lot of money. So we're saying by the help of God and the cooperation of His people and all the other friends that's helped, that's our goal, to build a haven, a city one day called the City of God, where that the healing arts of the world can come and find a home and a place to work and research and contribute their effort toward the healing of mankind, both spiritually, mentally, and physically. Now, I may have forgotten a few little details. If I have, well, somebody can call my attention. Not, I'd like to answer a few questions. I won't maybe answer them all, but I'll try to answer a few. You got any questions? Let's see, we'll start here.
Many people who come as clients are complaining about the fees that are not available, so that it wouldn't have to come out of their pockets, all of it, or that
in our second phase, we do have a program where that the insurance companies and the other areas of them can be recognized and get deductions for them, yes. Well, she was mainly saying about the fact that patients going into the retreat program or otherwise finding ways of getting deductions, using it through their insurance program, like your Blue Cross, various other things, or even in the government deduction. Yes, there is a plan to do it. We do not have it completed this time, but immediately under the operation of the new program, there will be things here at that time that can be approved, that can be deductible from insurance and other things. That's one of the reasons we're going into such detail of professional help here, so it can eventually be total deductible if it is possibly deducted from the insurance program. Yes, ma'am. Wait just a minute, ma'am. This lady's talking. The treat is open now. You can start, appreciate that question. The treat is open now, and you can start sending in for reservations for your people to come in immediately. In fact, it's already open, so you can start sending people in now, or sending us the names and having them interviewed for entrance. The price is $550 a week, tax included. If it was $500, we added the 50 on because that's what the tax is. That's per week. Well, that's a good question. It covers just about everything, I think, except a few of the special services rendered either in the spa or rendered by the chiropractic or colonics. Those are additional costs if you need them. But the basic things, I'll say this, if you got it Roanoke and Blue Ridge, it covers everything you got there and some pluses. Now, I don't know if that helps you or not, because I don't have the list before me, but it just about covers everything. Yes, ma'am, back here, the lady had stood. At that time, the question was, will that legal advice apply to Canada? Not primarily, but I'm sure if you bring questions that there'll be some that can give you some general idea, because these attorneys will all be U.S. attorneys. But if you have questions that you'll give us ahead of time, we will try to get some answers for you by the time the seminar opens if we know it in time. Yes, sir, over here. If you call, the regular number is 714, the regular Murrieta number, 677-5621. And if you're calling at that time, you ask for the nutritional program. Now, the reason we're saying it, we don't know who all to ask at the time, but it'll be a number of people. But when you ask the operator for that term, nutritional program, here, they will immediately switch you over to a number of counselors that will talk to you and tell you what to do. 677-5621. Area code 714. Go back to the thing. Remember, anyone coming is supposed to have a test by some tester somewhere before they even call it. Then the tester recommends them to the retreat, tells them they call and say, yes, I've had a test. That's all you need to know at the time. Then the counselor on the phone will tell you the rest or ask you the rest of the questions. That's going to be difficult for a while till we get this all spelled out and send it out to you. You're just going to have to play a little bit of that by ear because it's not easy to answer because the tester may not know all the things. But when the tester recommends them, meaning they feel that their numbers show that they need to go in the retreat, that's all they can do is recommend. Then they're told to call, and at the time the counselor will ask the number of questions so they can determine what the status of the person is and what to do. Yes, in other words, because many of you, the question was about our outpatient program here. We have that operable here for people who may live close enough, like up in the compound here, for instance, which most of you people would make no difference because you're going to be so far off anyway that make difference. That was just things, they can be tested here. And under rare occasion, and I say rare, I want you to emphasize rare, we do not want to make it clear that we don't want to do all the tests and the value because the expense of those people coming here may be useless if they come down here and we find we cannot take them. That's why it's up to you to make that first $50 anyway. We want you to make it. You make that test, and then if you feel to come in, you have them called here. Don't just send them down here to come get a test and see if they can get in, because you're going to get a lot of rejects if you do. Because that's not the primary purpose of the retreat, is making the original test. It's your primary purpose, and you recommend them to come. Let me see. Yes, sir, over here. I'd still send them there. We haven't arranged anything change on that. I'd say temporary. Unless Dr. Black's got some other thing, and I don't think he has. You'd still do that. We hope for very long that even those that may not even get a terminal, you'll be able to send your cards to the place and get the full reading from the computer anyway. But right now, I'd say there's no change in that. Over here just a minute. No, not at this time. Our retreat here is not equipped, and there are some legal reasons in this area that we have to stay with the ambulatory patients at this time. So if you know what we mean by that. Do you everybody know what we mean by that? Huh? Or people that are able to walk in under their own power, more or less. What is, we are not equipped because of the time and effort and service that it takes, plus from legal reasons of the area, to take anything but ambulatory patients this time. Yes, sir, way back there. I don't know whether I did or not. It may be there and I haven't got it. If you mean personally, I don't remember getting it. It probably may have come through and I just haven't had a chance. If you see the stack of mail over there that I have not been able to get to lately, it's possibly it. But if you would personally afterward give me a little piece of paper and refer to it, I'll dig back through that pile of mail and take a look at it. Back over here. It's a separate unit, but it's under the program as far as we're concerned. I mean, it's still operable and everything as far as we're concerned, but it's not the same as this unit. I mean, they're not connected as units, if that answers your question. Is it running now? Is it open, Doc? The Blue Ridge has been open. You know they had a fire down there and the building's burnt, but I didn't know for sure, but it is open, is that right? The Blue Ridge is open. Somebody over here. We don't have them now, but they will be by the time this seminar takes place. They will be here. Yes, ma'am. We're reducing the person half or less. It depends on what degree of service that they have to render or what we have to do. But not be more than half price for the extra. I think Blue Roanoke was charging half, but